Welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast, strategies that help entrepreneurs build reputable and profitable brands. Here's your host, Henry Kaminski Jr.
All right, guys. So today's topic of conversation is what to do with your money, how to invest your money as an entrepreneur. And for those folks that have been following me some time, you guys know that I was not very good in this particular department of entrepreneurship. I spent my money very frivolously and almost lost the business twice because of it. So ironically, last year, I met a phenomenal individual who is a financial advisor and has a lot of experience when it comes to managing money and finance. And I had to have him on the show because it's been a year since we worked together, and he's gone through some major changes in his life, both personally, professionally. I wanted to catch up to him. And he also has some crazy stuff going on for his brand that I just have to have all of you guys check out. So without further ado, I want to introduce Jose Hernandez, the Millennial Money Mentor. What's going on, my man?
What's up, Henry, man? It's a pleasure to be back with you. I know we're talking about it a little bit. It's been right at a year since we started this entire process, and it's been very interesting to see it all develop over the period of just 12 months and, working hard to make sure that we keep this thing rolling. And I'm excited to see what we can do this year and the year after and the year after. Well,
I got to tell you, man, I give you much props for creating such a phenomenal online presence over there on Instagram. I mean, your engagement and just the way people are hanging on to every word that you put out and the content that you put out is so powerful. Before we get into anything, I want you to get a chance to share with our audience where they can find out more about you online.
Of course. So my main platform, like you mentioned, is Instagram right now. You can find me there. It's the Millennial Money Mentor. Posting daily on there, posting a lot of content that I think is helpful for people to not only know about, but digest and also, see in a way that's easier for them to approach the subject, because finance, investing, all these things, if you're not a professional in the industry, it can be hard to approach. So my recent, strategy has been, how do I get this information in front of people in a way that's digestible, and then they can get more comfortable with it, continue to consume the content, and then start applying it in their own lives.
Yeah, well, so let's get into, I love that too, because I think there's so many millennials out there, and not even millennials. Like, you don't have to be a millennial to follow Jose. His financial tips and strategies are fantastic, and they're for anybody who wants to have their money working for them instead of against them. And you've done such a phenomenal job with creating this type of content. So let's start with this. Like, as an entrepreneur, because a lot of my audience are entrepreneurs, small business owners, and they're looking to get the best bang out of their buck when it comes to investing, whether it be back into their business or in other things. Where do you see the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs are making when it comes to leveraging their money to actually grow and build a brand and create a life that they're comfortable with?
Yeah, of course. So it's kind of funny because it's not directly related to the investing, but it's still very, very directly related to it. And I listen to a guy called Bob Proctor pretty much every day. He's phenomenal. And he always talks about the importance of knowing where you are in order for you to get to where you want to get in the future. And what you can refer that to in investing and personal finance in general is just knowing where you stand financially from a balance sheet perspective and income perspective, just knowing what do I actually have going on. Because as an entrepreneur, as someone that has a lot going on, you're obviously trying to run a business, you're trying to get clients coming in, you're trying to manage all these other areas. And it's so easy to overlook something as crucial as understanding your balance sheet. Maybe there's some areas on your balance sheet that require attention that you haven't even thought about. Maybe you have some debt on your balance sheet that's eating away at your cash flow that maybe could be going towards something else, whether it's investing, whether it's ad spend for your business, a number of things. So starting from that foundation of understanding a breakdown of your assets versus your liabilities, so you can be really honest about where you stand, is so important because we're always just so fixated on the business that we forget to look at that sort of thing. And then just looking at the other things like what's actually bringing in my revenue, what's bringing in the income, what can I do to continue to bolster that? How do I scale that? Those sorts of things. So I would say getting that foundation very, very clear and being honest with yourself is very, very crucial. That way you can analyze that and start making the decisions necessary to scale the business or start funneling excess cash flow into building an investment portfolio, et cetera, et cetera.
Now, is this something that you do with your bookkeeper or accountant or a financial a guy like you? Who sits down with you and works that out? Because I'm enough to be dangerous with QuickBooks, but I would never touch it. Sure. When it comes to what how you guys go in. So sure. How does that happen? You know what I mean? Who's that person?
Yeah, great question. So that's more of a style question. If you're someone that wants to make sure that you're managing everything and you know where everything is, I've seen plenty of people do it with a spreadsheet. They just say, okay, here are my assets, here are my liabilities. I know where I stand. Maybe I update it monthly, every other month, whatever. If you have a more sophisticated kind of situation going on, maybe you do rely on a financial advisor, or maybe you keep your CPA in the conversation as well. So it's more of a matter of personal preference and whether or not you want to have the responsibility of keeping track of these important figures, which I think you should at least know what's going on. I don't think you should be completely blind to it. But if you are, having any kind of conversations with professionals in this field, they can assist you in that as well. But you still have to have ownership over the process and know what's going on, whether you outsource it or you do it yourself.
Okay. So let's get into the conversation of what should an entrepreneur who has some momentum behind him, okay? So he or she is making some money and they're eager to spend it on the right things, right? So let's talk about that for a second, because I think a lot of times it's very easy to keep up with the Joneses, right? Oh, that person drives this car, so I got to go out and make sure that my perceived value is greater, or if not, as much as that person. And then now we get into this tit for tat. Listen, I did it, so sure. I'm not embarrassed to say it, sure. Right? And then I realized that's such a rat race, and it's just a race to the bottom, because you're never really happy at the end of the day. And those sort of materialistic things wear off really quickly. Sure. So how does one stay in the right frame of mind of not to go that route? And two, what should I really be investing my money in to help grow this thing?
Of course. So that issue right there, I think, comes down to an issue with focus, and the focus being what you're actually trying to accomplish long term. Mm-hmm. So that may be different for one person than the other. One person may want to say, hey, I want to build up enough assets to be able to retire in 10 years and really, really retire. For another person, that may be, hey, I am so focused on making sure that my grandkids or my kids or whoever has this portfolio of assets that they can live off of. So the first step is identifying what is it that I really, really want and why it's important to me. Because without that in mind, without that goal in your mind, all these other things come up. Do I spend this money on this type of thing or the other thing? Without that level of context, you're so much more likely to fall into that trap versus now you're saying, no, this money that I am either investing or putting back into my business, which I could go use for something else that's much more fun right now. No, I have a plan for this money, and there's a reason behind it. So it just comes back to the fundamental why behind a decision, especially a difficult one that requires you foregoing immediate gratification and understanding what the benefits are of that decision. So in terms of actually investing the money, and this is where my mindset's kind of expanded a little bit now that I've gotten into entrepreneurship. I always thought it's just the stock market or just investing. If you are in a position where you know the numbers behind your business, you understand the return on your ad spend, you understand the scalability of your current defined process, you can measure that against other types of investments. And then, ideally, maybe have a mix between the two. You're reinvesting some of that capital into your business, into, growing the awareness of your brand via social media or however your position. And you're also diversifying into other types of assets, whether it's, the stock market, whether it's real estate, you can pick your poison there. But base, you have to have an end goal in mind, because anytime that you have a decision come up, you have to go to that goal and say, the way I'm managing these funds, is that getting me closer to that or further away from it?
It's so important. That they talk about this concept is relatively new to me when it comes to creating runway for yourself.
Sure.
One of my mentors was like, well, how much runway, if you stopped working today, how long can you go, without having to work again? And I was like, back in the day, I was like, I don't know, like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And now it's more like 2 years,
Right.
what I mean? And I love what you said about how paying attention to the end goal. I think a lot of times we don't pay attention to the end goal, and we're more focused on the short gain. Right. And listen, if you want to play that game, then you play that game. But I think the reason why I had you on the show today is because I want you to help our audience get a better understanding of what money actually is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people think like money is the end all be all. And I don't necessarily know if that's true.
It's not. And I see a lot more people saying this phrase that I'm about to say, but money is more of a tool. Money allows you to do things, whether it is start a business or scale your business, or, a big motivation of mine is I want to help my parents out. They brought us here to this country later on in life, and they don't have any assets to their name. They're getting older, and that's a big motivation of mine. So, obviously I want to use money as well to continue to grow my reach, my brand, and, help more people as well. But I don't see money as, a measure of success, which for whatever reason, that's how our society sees it. And I think when you're working so hard to build something that's meaningful, serve other people, you're putting in the hours, you're grinding it out. When you see some of that success, it's easy, really, really easy to, say, I've earned this, I've earned the right to use this instead of as a tool, just as a means to an end. Where in reality, if you understand how money works and what it really is and how to use it effectively, that changes not only the conversation, but your mind shift and the way that you even perceive it. So, we should get to the point where money is not an uncomfortable topic. Mm. It's uncomfortable because of the way it's perceived. Yes. But if we can just have straight up logical conversations about how it can be used as a utility, how we can make other people's lives better, how we can use it in business, how we can, also enjoy ourselves, I think that changes the entire conversation, and that changes the way you view it as well.
So let me ask you this. As an entrepreneur, as a young entrepreneur, growing and scaling your business over the past year and really going through a lot of the experiences that entrepreneurs go through, what would you say the top 3 investments an entrepreneur should make when building and scaling their brand?
Of course. So the first one may be obvious, maybe not, but it's yourself. So, when I engaged you, I was like, Henry knows what he's talking about from a marketing perspective, from a branding perspective. I'm just a finance guy. I'm just someone that knows finance, and that doesn't automatically translate into business. So, whether it's you're more of the course route, or maybe you value a legitimate mentorship, or going through like your program where we went through all the different phases of that. That's very important. Secondly, and I'm not quite at this place, but this is something that I do want to accomplish this year, is investing in people as well that can help you with your operations. Because I want to get to the point to where I can't manage it all. And I think that should be your goal, right? You don't want to be, and I think I've heard you say this in the past, you want to work on your business, not in your business. Mm-hmm. If you can get to the point where you're doing that, you're doing something right. Mm-hmm. And even if it means you're taking a little bit of a haircut on margins, in the long run, that's going to serve you better from a personal perspective, but also your business as well. And you want to be focusing on calling the most important shots, not every single shot that there is in the business. And then lastly, outside your business, outside of, ad spend, outside of all that, I think it's important to start diversifying your assets as well. So your business is most certainly an asset, especially if it's cash flowing, especially if it's profitable. But if you have the ability to shovel some of that excess cash flow into either the markets or real estate, whatever you're more inclined to, I think that's a good move as well, because you can potentially turn that into an income stream as well, or just use that as a portfolio that can meet some future goal, whatever that goal is for you. So I would say investing in yourself, investing in people, and then diversifying outside of your business as well when it's possible.
Okay, so let's talk about diversifying outside the business real quick, and then we'll hop back. All right, now actually, let's take the conversation this way. Let's start with number one: investing in yourself. What do you mean by that? What are 3 things that they could do to invest in themselves?
Sure. So the first thing I would say is, if you're going to offer any kind of service to somebody, you have to have a skill. You have to have some sort of skill set. And I developed my skill set just because I went to school for it, and I worked in the professional world. So if you didn't go to school or you didn't work in the professional world and you're trying to leverage some sort of service for people to pay you for, you have to develop that skill. And you can do it on your own. You certainly can. But if you want to be really, really good at it, if you want to be elite at it, I would say, you can find some sort of resource, whether it's a person, whether it's a course, to help you develop that skill set. So I would say that would be a way of investing in yourself. Another thing would be networking. This has been something that's been huge for me. This past month in January, I went to a workshop that the podcast Earn Your Leisure had here in Atlanta. Shook some really, really important hands, made some great connections, and that's a community that I'm trying to get involved with as well. And then in terms of your own skill set and your own tools that you can offer, that may also mean technology. It may be for me, the things that I use, or the applications that I use to run in my content creation, those sorts of things. So I would say it's finding education, finding something that's going to help you build and leverage a skill set, investing, networking as well, getting in front of people that know more than you, have bigger audiences than you, and then obviously the tools of your trade.
Oh, I love it. Okay, step 2 now, investing in people. Yeah. What would you say the top 3 investments would be there?
So number 1, people that are ahead of you, people that are doing something that you want to do at some capacity, even if it's not the exact same thing. So when I approached you, say, hey, Henry's good at branding and marketing. I don't know anything about that. Also, having someone in your life that can assist you with some of the stuff outside of business. And this is probably something that I need some guidance with from time to time, because I'm so just figured out on my own. But sometimes it's helpful to get an outside perspective, not just from a business perspective, but just life as well, and say, hey, you know what? I think that you need to focus some energy into, your relationship or your family life or something like that. And then, I'm more biased towards this because I'm active as well. But I think that if you can have someone that just helps you take care of your body as well, working out, that sort of thing, that goes a long way. Even if it's not directly related to your business, I think that having that sort of coach, someone that pushes you to get in the gym, to take care of yourself, I think that's important.
Yeah, I found that to be super, super valuable for me, is to have that person pushing you and keeping you accountable. That's how I jumped, leaps and bounds with my business, was finding people that would call me out of my nonsense, and push me, tell me that, what are you doing here? You're right. And that is such a help. I can't, push that harder.
Right.
Is to find that person of accountability and help them in all areas of your life. And like you said, the way you treat your health is how you're going to treat your business. There's no difference.
That's very true.
There's really no difference.
Very true.
Okay. Lastly, diversifying outside of business.
Yep.
Top 3 that you can start. So I'm gonna break this down. So there may be people that are new to this.
Sure.
So maybe we start with 3 sort of pieces of direction that you could send them to for those folks that are just starting out.
Sure.
Let's say it's stock market or real estate. You'd mentioned those 2 prior. And then after that discussion, we'll talk about maybe for the advanced person, what they could start to focus in on to try to help diversify that.
Of course.
That outside.
Yeah. So if you're brand new to investing, a solution that I think makes a lot of sense for people is robo-advisors. So if you've ever heard of Betterment, Acorns, those sorts of platforms, what they do is they provide you with a portfolio based off of your risk tolerance. So you say, hey, I have some time. I'm an aggressive investor. I just want to fund the account and let them pick the investments for me and manage the portfolio for me. Those types of platforms make a lot of sense for people that want to be hands off and they want to keep their costs low. And I think a lot of this industry is moving towards robo-advisors. I think the only people at a certain point that are going to have actual traditional people financial advisors are people that have some substantial net worth. I'm definitely not there yet. But, you know, that is somewhere where I point people to when they say, listen, I want to start investing. I don't want to be worried about doing research. I don't want to be worried about picking the investments. I don't even want to manage the portfolio. I just want to take the money that I'm earning and I want to put it into this portfolio and let it do its thing. So I think that's a great place to start. They'll provide you with a diversified portfolio, like I said, based off your risk tolerance. And that's going to work on the background. That's going to grow over time. So the earlier you can get started, the better there. And then if you do want to do some of your own investing, you can still open up, online brokerage account, whether it's an IRA or, just a regular taxable account, depending on what your financial goal is. You should line the account up with that. And then, start researching into how to own different types of investments, how to own different types of ETFs, how to analyze a specific company and own it in the stock market, those sorts of things. So I would say for the beginners, it would be more towards the robo-advisor route. And for people that want to take that a step above and beyond that, and they still want to be, actively investing, they could select their own types of investments or learn how to do the research and learn how to manage their own portfolio.
I love it. Listen, I'm a huge Acorns user. I've been using it for a year.
Yeah.
And I freaking swear by it, man. I started that account with tiny $1,500.
Yeah.
And watched that sucker grow, man, over the course of a year. And I'm aggressive.
Sure.
I'm aggressive at this point because I have some time and I have some runway.
Sure.
But watching that puppy grow is really giving me that financial security.
Right.
That I feel that we all want.
Right.
It's that feeling that I'm okay. Like I'm not living paycheck to paycheck anymore.
Right.
We can breathe. If that client doesn't come through or, I don't want to take that client. I don't think it's a great fit, but we don't have to say yes just because, I hate when I hear people, I have a lot of clients that say, I need the work in order to survive. And I'm a firm believer that when you create this financial security around you, you don't need anything.
Right.
You really don't. You need to just stay focused. So I was telling my wife the other day, been doing some real hard pivots with my content and really hard pivots with my finances. And it's no different than driving an airplane or car. When you take your hand off the wheel for any given time, or you're gonna swerve.
Right.
So it's very, very important to keep your hands 10 and 2 on your financials. And don't think just because you're having a great month that you could take your hand off the wheel.
That's right.
I always think of the ant philosophy. I got this from Jim Rohn.
Okay.
Did you ever hear of the ant philosophy?
Maybe I have. Let's hear it.
So the ant philosophy is it doesn't matter what season they're in. They're always thinking about the next season. So when it's summer, they're thinking about winter. And when it's winter, they're always thinking about summer. And so they know that they will never stop investing
Right.
in themselves. Meaning, when it's hot and sunny, they don't have to do as much work, right?
Right.
But they know that winter's coming.
Right.
And that's the key that we all need to understand as entrepreneurs is we're going to have some phenomenal months. We're going to have some months that we hear crickets. And it's just the way it works. It's like the seasons, right? There's always going to be a fall. There's always going to be a spring, summer. That you can't pick your seasons, right? And that's what I want people to understand is always think of just sacking away. I use the 70-10-10-10 philosophy. Live off of 70% of all your earnings, invest 10% in marketing, invest 10% into some sort of savings or IRA or whatever, like you mentioned. And then 10% goes into investments like real estate or, in my case, stocks, using the robo advisors that you had mentioned, because I'm a little bit of a hands-off type of guy when it comes to that stuff. And just literally do that religiously. And I gamified it. I actually created a game out of it. And I can't wait when that next payment comes in to divvy it up.
Right.
Like I get excited over that. I'm not excited anymore to go out and buy the next car or the next pair of shoes or the watch. Like, I guess I just had to go through that and get over that the way that I did. But I don't regret it because it taught me some valuable lessons. And now with a 2.5-year-old son, in the game, I'm much more wiser with my money than ever before. And so I wanted to have you on today to kind of share your expertise and share what you're working on and how you see money and finances. And I got to tell you, man, it's spot on. I agree with everything that you said. And I hope some people that are watching and listening got some value out of this, and hopefully they apply some of the stuff that we talked about to help them grow, financially in their lives as well. So real quick, before we forget, for those folks that want to learn more about you, Jose, where could they find you online?
Best place to find me right now is on Instagram, the Millennial Money Mentor. Like I mentioned, posting daily content on there for you to learn these types of topics, to be able to have just day-to-day conversations. My goal is to help people, if they don't want to have a financial advisor, become their own financial advisor. I want people to have conversations with their friends objectively about what they have going on financially, whether it's their business or their investing, and they can just be very confident about what they're saying. And they say, I have a strategy. I know exactly what I'm trying to accomplish. This is what my hard-earned money is going towards. And my content in my mind is a way of bridging that gap. So that's the best place of finding me. And then also earlier this year, I dropped my educational platform, Financial University. I came out with it. It was a couple months in the making. I probably should have came out even earlier with it, but I wanted to make sure that it was good. And essentially, I'm just sharing all this information in a way that's digestible. You learn at your own pace. It's more for people that really value education. They didn't have the opportunity to study finance in school or whatever the reason may be, and they just want and really value that level of education. Comes with its own app, so it's very user friendly. It has the community element to it as well, so you can engage with other members, ask questions. We're there to support you as well. So I see it as an alternative way of having access to a financial professional or financial professionals because we have other people involved, as well as the educational element to it where you can watch the video lessons on your own schedule, on your own time. Comes with quizzes to make sure that you're learning the information. So it's the integration of a learning environment and also a community that's there to support you. And I launched that earlier this month, or this year actually, with the goal of just having that be accessible for people that really value that sort of thing and they just haven't had it in the past.
I love it, dude. When I saw that hit, I was like, oh man, here he comes.
Yeah.
A year of the making.
Yep.
It looks so clean. The platform is so user-friendly. I highly recommend anybody that wants to get some more financial intelligence under their belt and to learn more about how to manage your money and have it work for you. Highly, highly, highly recommend you check out Financial University. And again, you can find him on Instagram at the Millennial Money Mentor. It's a tongue twister.
It's a mouthful.
Make sure I get that right.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we came out with it and you're like, that's good, man. So I said, all right, let's do it.
It nails who you're targeting.
Yep.
Right. And it does exactly what you do. And so I got to congratulate you again, Jose, for really going all in on yourself and on this brand over the past year. Watching you evolve has been a phenomenal, just a feeling of gratitude.
Thank you.
And just seeing you progress and never give up and go through the highs and lows and still coming out on top, man. You are somebody that people should be following and watching and modeling, because you're a hell of a dude. And
thank you.
I appreciate all that you're doing. I think more people need to become more financially intelligent and not go through the same mistakes that I went through, because they didn't educate themselves on proper finances. So, Jose, thanks again for coming on the show, man. Appreciate you. And go check this guy out. I can promise you're going to get educated and entertained at the same time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, man, Henry, it's a pleasure. It's an honor and a blessing to be connected with you. I'm very, very grateful for the investment that I made in you a year ago, and I'm very excited to continue to see it pay dividends for me and the people that are involved with it as well. So look forward to continuing to see you crush and add a lot of value to other people's lives as well.
Thank you, Jose. Well, there you have it, my friends. Another episode in the books. Take his advice, guys. We can talk until we're purple, but if you don't take action on what we're talking about, none of this matters. So just head over there right now. The Millennial Money Mentor on Instagram. Go check out Financial University, and I can promise you, you will not be disappointed. So have an amazing day, guys, and I will catch you on the next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Brand Doctor Podcast with Henry Kaminski Jr. To get your appointment with the doctor, visit Brand Audit at www.uniquedesigns.net.